Hello and welcome to another edition of the Burnout Avenue podcast. My name's Zach Patton. Alongside me is my co-host Josh Neal, and we are so happy to be bringing you another edition of the Burnout Avenue podcast. Josh, how are you doing tonight?
A little bit tired myself, but we'll get through it. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and I guess we just want to throw an apology out there how we missed last week. We both of us had extremely busy schedules, and we had a hard time getting something fit in. So we just want to foremost apologize for not putting something out last week. But we hope this podcast will suit you, and we're excited to talk about some racing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Michigan. Would you call it the Joey Logano 400? I think that's what you were calling it, right?
Yep. I called it that on Twitter, but I also pat myself on the back because before the race, Sunday, I said Joey Logano would win this race and dominate it, and I called it. If you put out the stat that when last time Joey Logano won the pole at Michigan, he led over 100. I think he led 80 or over 100 laps or something crazy. But when Joey Logano gets the pole at an intermediate track or a 2-mile track, he dominates. And I fully expected that to happen with this package and, everyone just blowing this package up. It's supposed to be the next best thing at this track. But, yeah, I mean, it was definitely the Joey Logano 400. You couldn't pass the leader. I mean, Kevin Harvick got by him. He got a good push on a restart, took him 3 wide. But guess what? Joey Logano got right around him. So Joey Logano had the best car all day. He set his car up specifically to be out front, and he stayed there. It was I don't know. People, we sent out the poll on Twitter. The overall majority, I think 34%, said it was a B race. I'd probably give it a C race, but what was your quick thoughts on the Joey Logano 400?
I mean, like you said, there wasn't – I hate there wasn't much passing for the lead, but, I mean, at least you did have some passing behind the leader. But I think that's a common theme at these mile-and-a-half racetracks or 2 mile.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry.
I think Michigan's a 2-mile track.
2-mile track. But, I mean, that's what you're going to have when you come to the tracks like these. I mean, you just get the cars had just has those big spoilers, and it allows you to get drafts, if you're in the pack or whatnot. But when you try to go around the leader, you just it's like a parachute. Like I said, that's a common occurrence this season when we go to tracks like this.
So I sent out a tweet saying it looked like the Indy 500 because literally the only way you could pass was on the straightaway. You get a run. If you got loose coming off the corner and you were on the straightaway, you might lose 5 or 6 spots just because someone wouldn't be behind you. It was like a mini Daytona. If no one was behind you, you were going to lose spots. And some people enjoyed it. Others, like me, did not enjoy it because this is what happens. When you have cars like that, it takes away all the talent. Me and you could probably go out there, leave it wide open, and get in a draft and probably do decent. I mean, literally, I was surprised to see more cars farther in the pack not gamble on strategy and try to stay up there because literally all you had to do was keep a draft. That's what's wrong. People do enjoy those passes like that, but guess what? It's so hard to pass. You go on the corner and you get a run on this guy for like maybe a lap or two and you try to pass him and then the guy behind you decides to go the opposite direction and go with the guy you're trying to pass, you're going to lose like 3 or 4 spots. It has nothing to do with how good your car handles until you're up front. It has nothing to do with anything other than as long as you got somebody behind you drafting you, you were doing good all day. So when you seen all those teammates up there, like the Gibbs guys, they were up there in the top 10. Eric Jones, Martin Truex. Kyle Busch had one of his worst races until the very end. He wound up finishing 4th, I think. But I don't enjoy that kind of racing. you tell me, what do you think? I mean, is there really that much skill involved if all you have to do is get a draft to pass somebody? Because to me, I think you can put majority of those Xfinity and Truck Series drivers in there, and they could have probably done the same thing.
It's definitely not the best of racing. It's not necessarily just the most enjoyable to watch because there's not a lot of passing for the lead, and I think that's what we want to see is passing for the lead, not necessarily passing mid pack or in the back of the pack or toward. We want to see. You got something?
Well, you finished, but I got something because it's been annoying me all day, and I just now remembered to bring it up.
But no, I think right now what fans want to see is passing for the lead. I mean, we want to see competitive. We want to see competitive race up at the front of the pack for the lead. We want to see cars that are able to pass each other. We just don't want to see packages that allow just whoever's got that clean air just to dominate. I mean, I give props to Joe Logano for bringing a good car to Michigan. I mean, it's Ford's home track, you could say. I mean, I think Ford's always tried to claim that track as theirs.
Yep.
But it's just not necessarily the most enjoyable racing for race fans to watch.
I know there was a couple of people on Twitter that follow us. They said they attended the race, and they said they pretty much enjoyed it. I mean, I can see how you can enjoy that, being in attendance. I mean, there was mayhem. I mean, obviously, but so this is what comes to my point, and I want your thoughts on this. So this package, what was this thing supposed to do? It's supposed to give like 15 to 20 drivers a chance to win. I think I seen the stat that 14 of the 16 races or something like that has been won by Penske or Gibbs. And if you look on top of that, there's basically 4 teams that is owning NASCAR right now. The 22 of Logano, the 2 of Keselowski, the 18 of Kyle Busch, and the 19 of Truex. So tell me this. Is it anything different than last year? Because we get if I don't know how many people have won to this point last year, but we basically have 4 teams dominating the sport right now. I mean, we talk about this package keeping 15, 20 cars having a legit chance. But guess what? It's just not happening. The cream is rising to the top, and I don't know. I mean, to me, this package has benefited like 2 or 3 drivers. You got Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher is driving the wheels off that. I think that's got more to do with their alliance with Hendrick than anything else, and he's a very talented driver. You got Stenhouse. Stenhouse is constantly up there. You know, he flirts around the top 12 every week. And then, you know, you got guys like Austin Dillon who may make appearances every now and then. You got William Byron. But really, if I'm being honest, this package, we're judging it off passes. The passes are just not good passes. You know, we see the statistics of, well, you know, this was 50 passes and this amount of laps. It's the quality of passes. Because really, you know, you could be side by side in a corner, or like we seen yesterday, where you had to have drafting the whole time. The quality of passes is not what I want to see. And, you know, people are going to say, man, you're complaining about everything. Can you just not enjoy, you know, a decent race at a 2-mile track? I'll give it that. I'll give it a C. I'll give it a B-. But it's not what I want to see. I don't want to see another Daytona. I don't want to see another Talladega. If you're going to do that, put actual restrictor plates on them. And Michigan. You know, do you remember when Michigan, you used to could go around the top? You legit had to drive the bottom lane and a little bit in the middle. If you ventured up to the top, you were dead. You know, what's happened to Michigan? I mean, unless I missed something, I'm not sure, because I mean they basically that track is ruined. I mean, that package, I don't know. I'm just going to shut up and let you take this away.
Tell me this: do you see Michigan as a track that comes off the schedule? They've got 2 races.
I definitely, if they're going to keep up with this horsepower thing, and they're going to continue to get wacky with the cars, I definitely think this needs to come off the schedule at least once.
I mean, I agree. I think at least once. I mean, I wouldn't mind it coming off both races coming off the schedule, but I doubt Ford's going to let that happen because I think Ford takes a lot of pride in that track.
Yeah, I think Logano, Clint Boyer, a bunch of them were saying that the Ford family, they were basically, Roger Penske, all those guys, they were saying how important this was. And, we had two guys basically that led laps, Harvick and Logano. I mean, it was all Ford all day. So,
Well, if they're
quick thought. Oh, you
real
go ahead.
quick, do you think since these drivers are coming to the defense of Michigan that they might know something's up? They might have a little hint that this could be on something could be on the horizon for Michigan.
Possibly. I mean, eh, I don't think NASCAR officials deep down they may say they're happy about that, but you factor in it being a Monday race. I mean, I didn't think it was a good weekend. Kyle Busch, he was disappointed. Everyone was disappointed, but some of these fans think it was good racing. So I definitely think that people know that this track was in danger.
Well, I mean, there's a good chance of it. I mean, I say the possibility of them losing one race is definitely a high possibility. Them losing two races, I think there's a chance. Will it happen? I don't know. We'll see here in the next year or two.
What I want to talk about your boy Jimmie Johnson. God bless his soul. He couldn't get down pit road to save his life. He was just crashing into everybody. I think the first part of the race he gets ran into by, or no, he runs into the side of Matt DiBenedetto on the pit on pit lane. And he comes down after fixing that damage and looking like he had a pretty fast car. And I think who did he hit? I cannot think of it.
I remember seeing him hit Matt Benedetto.
Someone hits him and like tears his right rear up. I think it might have been Matt Tift, but just a bad day for Jimmie Johnson in the pits. Let's see what else. I'm trying to think of some different things. Obviously, there really isn't too much to talk about finishing position wise. I mean,
No.
really, it's just all about the draft. Um, Daniel Suarez fourth. I mean,
He had a
all,
penalty. He had a
huh?
he had a penalty.
Suarez.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I did see that at one point. But really, all the Stuart Haas cars were pretty good. They just didn't get the finishes they deserved, other than Suarez. Clint Boyer, he got loose in the corner, almost took out Eric Jones. Austin Dillon, he got took out by somebody. He made a tweet today, I think, and said he's tired of seeing apology text messages on his phone after the race. I mean, it was crazy. And then the amount of tires that were going down there in the last stage. You had pit strategy all day. You had fuel. I mean, it was. I guess the strategy made it a little bit more enjoyable, but I don't know. I still give that a C.
Well, so tell me. Oh man, I think I lost. I think I lost my train of thought. What were you continue what continue on what you were saying?
Well, I mean, I'm ready to move on from this race. I mean,
Well, okay, that I
let's
think
talk,
I'm
let's
ready
talk
to.
about let's talk about Greg Biffle.
Okay, yeah, I want to talk about a Daniel Suarez comment afterwards. So that's what I wanted to get to, but then I realized it just didn't line up. There's something else I was going to say, but yeah, let's talk about the Biff.
So, I think one of the finals. I think Friday was the finals game, and I was flipping back and forth between this and the finals. And Greg Biffle, I mean, I was not expecting. Like I finally turned the race off and decided I was watching the finals. And then I flip it back over and Greg Biffle's in victory lane. I'm like, whoa, what happened? But so here's the thing, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like to me when you have a above decent driver in Kyle Busch's trucks, that it's going to win. He by far has the best trucks. I think he has a 4-car team. And with Greg Biffle, I think it's a 5-car team. So I definitely think, I mean, it's impressive. I mean, it's definitely impressive for, I think, how old's Greg Biffle? 47?
Yeah, I don't think he just absolutely necessarily dominated. I think he had some pit strategy there
It,
toward the end.
like, he literally led, like, maybe less than 10 laps.
Yeah, he just had some pit strategy. I think he did the pit strategy, and I think he was in jeopardy of running out of gas too there at the end. So I mean,
That would make more sense.
I'm not necessarily saying he dominated the race. I think he just
No,
got put in good position, and
every
he's a
time
good
I
driver
flipped
anyway.
over, every time I flipped over there, he was like inside the top 10, but it didn't look like he was threatening to win. Um, if you put Kyle Busch in that car, it's probably going to win, but that's beside the point. He won the race. And now NASCAR won't let him run for, I think, the $50,000. I think there's like 3 races with $50,000 of the prize because he missed, missed the deadline to, what'd you call it? He missed the
They
entry.
missed the deadline to enter, but what it was after he won that race, several people reached out, and I thought that was interesting too, because like some of the well, I think on race day or maybe it was the day before, it was the Sunday that the race was supposed to happen. They were like asking, not necessarily questions related to like the Monster Energy race. They was talking about is Greg Biffle racing next week, because there were some companies that mentioned Kyle Busch on Twitter and said, "Hey, we'll sponsor Greg Biffle next week." And Kyle Busch was like, I have no clue at this point, or I really don't know, because he's trying to focus on the race. But he's like, yeah, if this stuff's going to happen, like our haulers leave Tuesday evenings to go to the next race. So like, I'm going to say it's a pretty quick turnaround. I don't know if Greg Biffle has made it into he can still enter the race. He just can't enter
Yeah.
that special, like he can't enter the whole cash thing.
Which I think he probably is going to enter the race. I think. I would assume. Heck, he might as well just race till he loses. He has nothing better to do. Wouldn't think.
Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing him return, just trying his luck, and maybe, well, hop up the Xfinity Series or something like that. But I mean, if you got sponsors and people wanting to sponsor, you might as well put a vehicle out there.
I mean, I think Greg Biffle got more eye. I mean, a little bit more eyes on the race, honestly.
Oh, for sure. I think
Just to
because
check in to see what he was doing.
I mean, if I wouldn't have been busy, I would for sure watched. I mean, Greg Biffle. I mean, when I was younger, I mean, you were younger. I mean, he was one of those racing. I'm not going to necessarily say he was just the most liked, but I mean, it was the Biff. So I mean,
The 16 car that will forever be Greg Biffle to me. Which
you're
I don't. There's not even a 16 car, but whenever someone else gets a 16, it's always going to be Greg Biffle in my eyes. And like the 17, I still think of Matt Kenseth, even though Stenhouse has that.
yeah. It's not the right 17 anymore, but it's it's still Matt Kenseth's, like you said, Matt Kenseth's car in my eyes. But I want to bring to your attention, and me and you kind of talked about it, Daniel Suarez's comment. Did I DM it to you, or did I just share it with you? But it was Daniel Suarez saying that today's drivers. Oh yeah. So
Oh yeah,
Daniel
yeah, yeah.
Suarez came out with a quote, and it said, "If you're polite, you won't last." Daniel Suarez has went into detail about how driver etiquette has changed during his career. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, let me pull it up again because I remember what you're talking about.
It was in our messages, but I didn't send you a link to it.
What's your thoughts about it? Well, while I look at it.
My thoughts are, I just think Daniel Suarez is an absolute dumb. I'm not going to say he's a complete dummy, but I definitely just do not agree with that sentence. I think all the drivers are pretty nice. I mean, yes, you might have a scuffle every once in a while, but I think it's definitely, I think racing wise mentality is a lot nicer than it was back in the day.
Well, I mean,
Maybe social wise, maybe these drivers don't like to talk to some of these drivers don't like to talk to each other. Maybe some of them have social issues, but driver mentality wise, they're a lot nicer these days than they were back in the day. Because back in the day, they were no one. I'm pretty sure just about anyone was spinning another person out for a win. So maybe that's what he's talking about socially. Maybe that I just don't think his comment makes sense in that of driver etiquette, driver
So,
mentality.
here's what I think. When he came into the sport a couple of years ago, these cars were easier to drive, easier to pass. And if I'm going to take his side, which I'll just do for the sake of this argument. So back to your point about socially, I would say everyone under the age of like 28 or 30, they're all good friends. It's hard to find, like when we were under this rain delay Sunday, you had Bubba Wallace, you had Corey LaJoy, you had Daniel Hemrick, you had Ryan Blaney. They were all out there tossing football to the fans. I think now more than ever, Chase Elliott's a part of that group. Ricky Stenhouse is a part of the group. Kyle Larson's a part. They're all so intertwined outside the track. Here's what I think he's talking about. I think he's talking about these cars today compared to a couple of years ago. They're so hard to pass. So you can't let up. You just can't let someone pass you because, it's so hard to pass. So, he says it's just a different style of racing now, and I kind of agree with that. But he says I try to be good with everyone, but on the racetrack, it's a whole different deal. There's a lot of drivers like that. Joey Logano, he's a great friend of mine, and we get along extremely well off the track. But when we're on the racetrack, we're always banging and hitting and trash talking on the radio. That's how it is, and that's how I like it to be. It has to be that way. He does a good job on that. He's an extremely aggressive driver. I will say I'm the same way. Maybe some people will sometimes say it's too much. I prefer to be on the much side and not too little. So I think he's got a point. When I first read the headline, I didn't know what he meant, but I kind of get what he's saying now. If you're nice on the racetrack and you let people pass, so basically what he's talking about, everyone's got to be more like Ryan Newman and not let anyone pass them. So that's what I take out of it.
I just stand with my opinion. I just don't. I don't personally side with his judgment. But I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree on this one. I guess we can move on to our next topic. Hailie Deegan. You want to explain a little bit about what happened with that one?
Well, so when was this? Saturday night, I think.
I believe it was Saturday night.
So she's racing the K&N race. I forget where it was at exactly. But her and her teammate had a little bit of disagreement on the track. So her teammate, Derek Kraus, he drove the 16 car. He's one of those Napa. He has the Napa sponsorship. I think Hailie was leading or near the lead. And
second or third car back.
Yeah, and apparently he gets in. Apparently he gets into her. Like I said, I don't know if she was leading or not at the time, but he gets into her, gets her really loose, and it caught her off guard, and she was really pissed. And she said even after the race on her Twitter, Periscope, whatever you want to call it, she said, "I race how you race me." So basically, it's like, if you do that to me, I'm going to do that back to you. So a couple laps later, Derek Kraus is in the lead. I forget how many laps are left, but he basically, I sort of think it's his fault in a way because she was already under him.
I think they're both at fault.
Yeah, she was already under him, and I think he's seen her, and he was just going to try to blocking her.
He pinched her down into the corner, and she already had a nose there.
It's like that IndyCar accident we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. I think, too, she had her nose in. She had her just the tip of her nose there, and he pinched her down, and she didn't back off. I don't think you do back. I don't think you do back off when you only got 2 or 3 laps to go. I mean, you get what you can take, and she did, and he pinched her down into the corner, and he got spun out. So I don't feel like he should. I mean, he could have gave her the room. I really don't know the lines of that track. I mean, he probably could have gave her took the top line there, the middle line there, and raced her clean. But instead, he tried to pinch her down into the corner, and he made himself pay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Look, I asked if it was dirty or not, and I mean that was probably one of our best tweets we've had. I had so many people comment on that tweet. I was still, I'm still getting notifications from people liking and commenting on that today. But, like I said, I'm a big fan of that. And here's what I have a problem with. I've seen some of the people we follow, some of the other NASCAR accounts on Twitter, the same ones that complain about not being aggressive enough or moving out of the way on finishes were saying that was dirty, and they were just complaining about it. I mean, give me a break. I mean, some of these – I've got to quit looking at Twitter because, I mean, these people piss me off. And there's a guy right now I'm thinking about. He's got a lot of followers, and he says some of the dumbest things. I don't know how he's got so many followers. I ain't going to call him out on this because we'll get a Twitter feud going. But
maybe that's what we need to do.
He is at some of his takes. He's so hypocritical, and some people call him out for it. But I'm not going to say his name. But I mean, he's so soft. He really is. I mean, it's just, and you got other people like that too. That's so dirty. Guess what? She basically said, I'm racing you how you raced me. And look, it's for a win. I mean, wins are very important, and there's who cares if she's a girl or not? That's got nothing to do with it. If this was Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott, I'm going to say
the conversation would still be the same. It wouldn't change a bit.
Yeah, so I mean, people can quit calling, like she's a girl, she's going to get away with it. It's none of that. I mean, let's just be real. I mean, if me and you were racing and you did that to me 5 laps before, guess what? I'm probably going to move you out of the way. I mean, I don't care who it is. You're racing for a win. When you get in that race car, you're not friends.
No, I think I completely agree. And like I said, I just think he's at fault. He pinched her down into the corner. It was that late in the race where those kind of moves, like you don't back down, you don't back up. I mean, a few laps to go, you just don't do it. So that's what I think on that matter. And like I said,
yeah, I just don't see how, like, the move itself, it can't be dirty if it happened to you 5 laps before. I mean, I just don't get it. It's not – that removes all dirtiness. Now, was Derek Krause's move dirty? Yes, it was. But that automatically – the blame goes out the window at that point. People are so stupid. They complain about us not having more contact for races, finishes, and
then when we do have contact,
that's good short track racing. We need more of that in the Cup Series. That's all that is.
That's classic short track, hot temper racing right there.
If I'm wanting to pay $15 for a good short track race, you damn well sure I want to see that stuff. So I mean. That brings us to our final point, I believe, and I think this needs to get more consideration. What is your thoughts on the Cup Series, maybe Xfinity Series to some extent, but what's your thoughts? Because when football season comes around, I tend to get out of my NASCAR mood because you know me, I'm a huge football fan. And I would say football is probably more, it's probably more of I love football more than I do NASCAR. I still love both of them. But I think a lot of people join me in this. When football comes on, they tend to steer away from the Cup Series. So what's your thoughts on the Cup Series having a couple of races per year during the week? At night, obviously.
Well, I don't think it needs to be at 5 o'clock Eastern time. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, I know that's the earliest, just for logistic reasons. I mean, that was the earliest they could get it in. Due to the whole women's World Cup
the World
thing.
Cup.
That's the earliest they can get to, and I know there's a bunch of stir on Twitter because of that.
Oh yeah, and that's NASCAR Twitter is so stupid, and it's all there is.
But I don't think it'd be a terrible idea, at least to try it. I mean, I don't, I don't really know the last time that there's been
There, I don't.
a prime time weekday race. I mean,
Do you
uh,
not think that the ratings would be higher if it's, let's say 7 o'clock Eastern time on maybe a Wednesday night at maybe I don't I wouldn't know the track.
I wouldn't do Wednesday night because a lot of people go to church. I mean, there's still a lot of people that go to church on Wednesday nights, and that's a lot of NASCAR's fan base right there. I'll do
So
like a Tuesday or
Thursday,
Thursday. I do
Tuesday.
Tuesday or Thursday probably. It'd probably have to be on. Well, if it's done during the summer, if it's done after July 4th or after July, that's NBC. So, um, they would have to do that on NBC Sports instead of a primetime NBC channel because stuff's on NBC. Which I mean, I know
Yeah.
they do it on NBC Sports anyway, but I don't.
I still say keep your big races like on NBC, but just think about it. Are you going to and the average NASCAR fan I'm going to assume is a big football fan too. Um
I think you
and the
could say
way
that.
these races have been going, you can't tell me they're going to stay tuned to this kind of racing over a whole day of Sunday football games. I'm definitely not going to. The race is going to go on my laptop or my iPad or something. It's going to be the secondary thing. If you put this thing on a Tuesday or Thursday night, well, maybe Thursday night not so much because you do have you normally have the Thursday night football game. That might take Tuesday night. I think Tuesday night's probably the most. I would say that Tuesday night's probably more reasonable. Maybe Friday night, but um, the ratings. I think the ratings would get a big bump, honestly, because what else do you got going on Friday night? People going out, but I think the average NASCAR fan would probably watch that. And I think if you're not going out on a Friday night, there's nothing else on TV. Well, let's just watch this NASCAR race, bet a couple of dollars on it, and see what happens. I mean, I just I like the idea of it. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'm just out there on this one, but when these new tracks, I think when 2021 rolls around and we have some more short tracks that we're hoping to get, I think this is where you need to dabble into something new.
And I think too, when you start making these new contracts with these new tracks, I think that's where you can be lenient or try to experiment um, with their times and schedules and stuff. Because if you reduce the schedule, that gives you more weeks to work with. I guess. Say if you do want to do a week race or a late like a late race, or like say you have a race on Sunday, then you want to turn around and have one Friday. Well, I mean, I just feel like it gives you a lot more playroom, so you could experiment with doing a weekday race.
And I
And
also think the drivers would be behind this because I'm sure some drivers would enjoy Sundays off. We have this upcoming week where we're not going to have a cup race. I'm sure they're going to enjoy the off weekend. I'm sure some of these guys would love to have the weekends off, watch some football because the majority of them are going to miss most of the football games. So I think it's a
those,
win-win for the drivers in this aspect. And I think it's a win-win for the fans. I don't know if it's a win-win for the company of NASCAR, but the ratings I think is going to be. I just think this is a win-win for everybody. I mean,
I guess we shall. We shall see what happens in the upcoming years on what NASCAR does with the schedule and how they tweak it and what kind of real changes they bring to the table. So
yeah, I definitely think this should be. I think this should definitely be on their table. I'm sure this isn't the first time they've had this suggestion come up, but
no, I think having a weekday NASCAR race it's definitely been a thing. Um, I
well,
mean,
I remember like a couple years ago, the truck race at Bristol was on a Wednesday night. I don't think
well,
they do that anymore, but
Eldora is on a Wednesday night. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure.
that's the only truck race you'll find me tuning in for the whole thing. And I mean, there's nothing else on a Wednesday night that I'm going to watch on TV. So
I don't know how good. I'd actually like to go to Eldora. I think Eldora would be a cool race to go watch.
that,
I enjoy watching it on TV.
that's definitely on my bucket list, NASCAR bucket list.
I always thought. I know this is a little bit off topic, but when they did the Prelude to the Dream at Eldora every year, where some of the NASCAR drivers they would get in dirt cars and have them wrapped like their normal race cars. I always thought that was the coolest. It was always on pay per view too, so I never did really get to watch it. But I just always thought the idea and the pictures. I just thought, wow, that's really cool. I wish it would come back, honestly.
There's so many wish they would come back moments we're having. I mean, does it happen? Do we go back to what the sport was built off of? Let's hope.
Well, that's what we can only hope for. That's what we can only hope for when NASCAR is forced to make these changes and talk about these changes. Like we can only hope that they recognize what the sport needs to do, what the sport needs to go back on, and so the sport can be successful and at least be around for quite a while longer to hopefully attract new audience members to keep the sport around. Because I mean, the sport needs viewership to gain sponsors. Because I mean, no one's going to sponsor NASCAR if not a lot of people are watching it. So, and I know that it kind of brings me up on something else too. I think you got an argument with someone on Twitter about the whole sponsorship thing, NASCAR and sponsorship. How someone said NASCAR didn't need sponsorship or something like
Oh,
that.
yeah. I mean, oh my God. I mean, that's the dumb. If he's listening to this, I'm sorry, but that was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever read. I mean, you really you have to please the sponsors because we don't really have that many left. No sponsorship. Your Fox is definitely. I mean, Fox and NBC. What good are they? I mean, why are they going to show the race if they're not getting any money from this? You know, if there's no viewership. I mean, sponsors rule this. Money rules this. That is why we're at these dumb tracks now. If sponsors and money was not that big of a deal, you know, I mean, it's just apparently he thinks these short tracks, you know, the North Wilkesboro and all these short tracks in the 70s, we can just go back to that magically and you know nobody watch it on TV. I don't know. I don't even want to get into that.
Even the shortest of short tracks, still short tracks. I mean, all those tracks that he's talking about, they have sponsors today. I mean, that's how they operate. It's
I
off
mean,
sponsorship. I mean, attendance too, but also off sponsorship.
all these guys, he's saying basically the argument was these cars don't need sponsors. Tell me the last time you've seen a car with no sponsor finish a race, other than maybe Daytona or Talladega. It just doesn't happen. If you do not have a sponsor, you don't have the tires, you don't have the necessary equipment to make it to the end. You just can't do it. So, I mean, the argument there is not, it's just, I just don't see how you have that conclusion. But like I said, man, we're getting bigger, and these people keep attacking me on Twitter, and I've just got to put them to sleep.
Yeah, you just gotta give my KO right quick. We know, you know what you're talking about, Josh. I feel like
Everybody
I know what
knows me on Twitter now.
what.
People on Twitter know that I'll tell it how it is.
That's good. That's what Burnout Avenue does. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to give our takes on the sport, our honest and truthful takes, and some people might not like them or agree with them because they might not understand things the way we do.
I would agree with that.
But I think that about wraps us up for the evening. You got anything else add to what we talked about this evening?
No. I mean, we'll have an off week next week. I don't know if we'll have a podcast or not. Stay tuned. I don't know what our schedules be like, but there's an Xfinity and truck race. So, I mean, there's still going to be NASCAR
Watch
races.
those and maybe talk about them.
I mean,
our schedules allow it.
The Iowa Xfinity race is always a good one. So, I mean,
You're right. Iowa is always good. The trophy they give away is always good too.
I'm sure that'll be definitely a race you want to tune into. I mean, I'll be playing DraftKings, so I'll definitely have some money involved in that, but I think that does it for me.
You want to give our social media plugs?
Yeah, I mean, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, Google Play, whatever else is. You know what we're called, Burnout Avenue. I mean, we're here, we're there. We got busy schedules this summer, so we're doing what we can do. And yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, another awesome podcast. We want to thank each and every one of you for, of course, sitting with us this long and listening to us. So yeah, I guess we'll catch you maybe next week, or if not, we'll catch you the week after that. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.